you wake up essentially unemployed every day. Your reputation is everything in this industry. I should have become a real estate agent 20 years ago.
Welcome to the Deal Flow podcast. I'm Michaela, founder of ApexRev AI, where we help real estate professionals grow their business using AI and smarter systems. Today, I'm joined by Renee Bailey, a San Diego real estate professional with a fascinating background in biochemistry, clinical research, and oncology before transitioning into real estate. Today, we're talking about career pivots, the San Diego market, technology, and what it takes to grow in a competitive industry. Renee, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, for sure. You actually have one of the most unique backgrounds I've ever heard from someone in real estate. You earned degrees in biochemistry and English and spent years in clinical research and oncology studies before transitioning into real estate. Why don't you walk us through that journey?
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, for a long time, I was in clinical research. I actually started out wanting to become a physician. And at the end of my undergrad career, I was just like, no, I don't think that's my path at this point. It's going to be draining. Let's not do that. So I transitioned into doing clinical research, and I stayed in clinical research for a good long time, a couple of decades actually. And it I enjoyed it immensely. There's a lot of great things that we can do for society through clinical research, for sure. But the environment around research changed, the funding of research changed, and I found myself in a position where it was just not my path at that time, and I needed a change. And one of the things that I had always been interested in from 2002, when my husband and I bought our first home, was real estate. I'm an HGTV addict, try to stay away from the drama, but there's a lot that you can learn about real estate in HGTV if you're paying attention to the right things. And I dive into things like that. I dive into, what does that mean? How did they negotiate that? What's the market doing right now? That kind of thing. And I just kept on being drawn to it and drawn to it. And after so much time in clinical research, I kind of felt like the skills I had developed in clinical research, the detail orientation, the watching of trends, being able to identify different things that are going on around the market and everything. I translated that, and I was just like, let me go into real estate. I got my license in 2023, and I haven't looked back.
That's awesome. That's a great story. I think we can all relate to watching HGTV and being into those shows. I can see why that inspired you to start into the real estate industry. Was it a big learning curve? I feel like you mentioned the detail-oriented stuff from your science background really helped you into the real estate industry.
Absolutely, there was a learning curve because there is so much to real estate that you have to learn in terms of understanding what's going on in your particular market, even down to the neighborhood that you're looking at. How do you help a client? What do the contracts look like? What can you and can you not negotiate in a contract, either by listing or helping a buyer? And it was not terribly difficult for me because I'm used to studying. if you're if you've ever gone through college and gotten your bachelor's or your master's, that part of it is gonna feel very familiar to you. And it was funny experience to walk into the test because I knew I had studied. I knew that there were certain things that I knew cold, and there were certain things that maybe I might struggle with. But the things that I thought I would struggle with, I actually wound up not struggling with. And I went into the test fairly confident, sat down. And for those of you who don't know, in California, it is a computerized test. So you sit down at the computer, you're not allowed to take any of your stuff in, that's all locked away. You sit down, you have 3 hours to do this computerized test. And I think it's 120 something questions. And I sat down and I went through each one, and I'm like, okay, I think I know that one. Okay. And I kept going and I kept going. And then I reached number 120, and I'm looking around, and people are still doing the test, and I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. Something's wrong here. I was like, maybe I need to go back and look over some of my answers. So I did that. That took maybe another 10 minutes. And then I was like, I think I'm done. And I clicked submit with a shaking hand. And I went out to the front and I said, I'm ready. I'm done. And they were like, wait, do you just need a bathroom break? And I'm like, no, I'm like done. And and they were like surprised and they handed me my test score and they folded up, and it's one of those funny experiences because you walk out and you don't know if you've actually passed or not, and they give you the results right then, but you're not allowed to look at them until you leave the building.
Really?
There's
Okay.
Yeah. So it's all folded up and stapled, like, they put 4 staples around it and everything, and I'm like, "I can't wait. I gotta peek at it on the elevator down. I gotta peek." And I was like, "I'm so nervous," and then I saw, like, underlined stuff if you wanna retake the test, it was highlighted and everything. I'm like, "Oh, shoot, I must have failed." I opened it up and it's like, "You passed," and I'm like, okay, we did it. I
What a
can start
relief.
this new path. Yeah, it was a great relief. But I think, learning all of the things that go in there, if you apply yourself, it's easy enough to do. If you've studied before, or even if you don't, if you look for the resources to help you study, you're going to pass. You'll be fine.
I love that, and I just love hearing I feel like I was there in the room with you taking that test. That's good advice, like, it's like one step at a time, passing the test, and then it's like getting out there and really doing it in real life. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So you entered real estate during a really challenging time, low inventory, rising rates, a very competitive market, especially in San Diego.
Mhm.
What was that first experience like when you started?
So when I first started, it was post COVID. So 2023, the inventory was half of what normal San Diego inventory was. Half. So we didn't
Wow.
have very much inventory at all. And people were wanting to buy because rates were low, still fairly low. But it was starting to stall out because we were at the very beginning of the rates increasing again. And I think the biggest thing for me and the biggest thing I can suggest for anybody who's coming in at a challenging time is just focus on your SOI, your sphere of influence, and expanding it. Don't just settle for keeping your SOI and use doing deals through your SOI, but think of how can I expand my SOI? How can I expand my sphere of influence? For me, that looked like going into junior league. For me, that looked like becoming more involved in my place of faith, my synagogue. And I think that and other places too. If you want to meet people, you have to go where the people are. For me, it was also choosing places where like-minded people would be, people who are interested in building their community, people who are interested in giving back, people who are kind and focused on being helpful. And that was my goal in being helpful myself. And I think when you put yourself out there in that kind of positive frame of mind, positive things come back to you.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice for sure. And I love the outlook of your whole perspective at that time. So you mentioned, that determination, expanding your circle, really putting yourself out there as part of your success. Were there ever any moments early on where you questioned things or felt discouraged?
Absolutely. And I don't think it would be normal if you don't. This is not something that you should take lightly if you're making such a transition. This is a career. And if you take it seriously, it will expand and be a great career for you. But if you're looking to kind of just, I may do a deal once in a while, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're not going to be able to make a career out of it. So be prepared. You wake up essentially unemployed every day, and you have to find your employers out there. That's exactly what real estate is at all times, is trying to find your employers.
Yeah. Keeping that mindset of staying fresh and going out there. Can you expand on that a little bit if there was maybe a certain deal or a certain transaction that was just really difficult and you had to question yourself, but then you moved past it?
Yeah, actually, I would say even it might have been just my first deal. That yeah, it's interesting because once you get into your deals, once you first start doing deals, you wind up learning a whole lot of stuff that they didn't teach you in the real estate schools. Specific things that you need to keep an eye on, making sure that everything is on track. You're basically the deal's project manager. Right? So, if you don't keep in touch, if you're not good at communication, if you're not things will slip by, and that could potentially harm your client. So you always have to keep on top of things and not micromanage things, but just keep on top of things to make sure that things are flowing, that things are going in the direction that you want them to. And I mean, during that first deal, everything that could go wrong was just going wrong. We fell out on the first house that they were going to buy. They sold their house through me. That went swimmingly. And then they were going to buy another home, and we had their current home under contract. The first home that they fell in love with and wanted to buy, we put an offer in on, and the inspection just wound up being horrible. There was a whole new tile roof that needed to be replaced for about 35,000, et cetera, all these different things. And we wound up falling out over that, but that also put a time pressure on us. And so we went and saw six different houses on a Saturday and chose one to put an offer on. And everything just, we wound up closing late because the VA loan was moving slow, all these different things. And I mean, there were certain parts of time when I just wanted to cry because I'm just like, I want to do this so badly for them. They need this to work out. And it just like, it was so frustrating. But in the end, when they got to move into their home, that was, a high in a way that you don't come down from easily. You're just like, I did it. I helped them. And thank goodness, I love that
Yeah,
kind of feeling like you've helped somebody. That was great.
that's great. It's interesting how you said like everything was coming against us, but then instead of taking defeat, you turned around and went and saw 6 house showings after that. Would turn that negative into a positive with your hard work. So that's great. So what actually surprised you most about the real estate industry now that you're actually inside of it?
Didn't realize I should have, but I didn't realize how much realtors gab and talk about other realtors, if I'm honest.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's interesting.
Which actually leads me to another point. Your reputation is everything in this industry. And I mean, reputation is everything anywhere, right? But in this particular type of situation where you're going to be dealing with particular realtors probably on a regular basis over and over again, you need to leave a positive impression, particularly on the first deal you do with them. But if you can leave positive impression and basically be the kind of realtor that they're going to pick your client offer over somebody else's because they know you can get the deal done, that is everything. That your reputation can lead you to getting the deals done for your clients. So I think that's an important thing that you don't necessarily think about when you go into real estate. Realtors they do gab, but they'll tell you, oh, no, don't do a deal with that person. It'll fall out. Don't, or yeah, she's excellent. You will have the best transaction of your life when you work with her, that kind of thing. So yeah, keep your reputation in check. Make sure that you're doing all the things you need to do to make sure that they're gonna look positively upon you.
Yeah, that's a great insight and surprise too, because I had no idea either. You just don't assume that that happens, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
So, for people living outside California, I don't know if they fully understand how competitive and expensive the San Diego market can be. What are some of the biggest challenges that buyers and sellers are facing right now?
I would say the biggest challenges are still the low availability of homes in this area. It does feel like there have been about 3 tiers of buyers and sellers. There's the first-time home buyer who really wants to just break into the market for the first time, and unfortunately, in Southern California, they're oftentimes priced out of the market, particularly for single-family homes, but it's starting to be even for most condos, unless you want a one-bedroom condo. Two-bedroom condos are going up to the next tier would be like, I wanna move up, or I'm gonna downsize kinda tier, where you're looking for a single-family home, you've had one for a while, you've got some equity, but it may have been a while since you bought, so the you might get some sticker shock when you go to try to buy a single-family home in particular. And then
Yeah,
there's
for
the
sure.
luxury market, and the luxury and ultra-luxury markets have actually been moving quite well around here. They haven't been affected by mortgage rates as much because a lot of those people are buying cash or have ways of leveraging their stock or whatever other non-liquid assets that they have to do the purchase that they want to do. And that's where you see a lot of transactions happening right now.
Okay, that makes sense. So, is there any advice that you're giving clients navigating those conditions? It seems like maybe in the first two tiers, where it's a little bit more
Yes.
challenging.
So in the first time home buyer group, I would say make your expectations kind of modest. Make sure you know what your budget is too when you first come to an agent, because if you don't know what your budget is, we can't show you the homes that are going to be the best for you and fit your budget and fit your needs at the same time. I think in the more the higher tier, use your equity wisely. Make sure you're not overpaying for a home that you may or may not love. Know what your budget is, know what your equity is going to be able to get you, understand the fees that go along with it. Agents should be explaining to you any of the fees that are associated with things like title and escrow and the commissions that are involved and how that all works. I think one thing that agents haven't in the past been as clear about, and if there is one positive that's come out of the recent lawsuits against NAR and agencies, it's that we have to learn how to explain what we do for clients and how that gets paid for a little bit better. So I think if you go to an agent and they're not explaining to you how they make their commission, how it's paid out, or anything is unclear as to what you're getting in terms of the value of the service that they're going to be providing you, make sure that, you pay attention to that. You have to pay attention to those things.
Yeah, so it sounds like transparency then is really important, especially today, because you want someone to know all that up front, right? Instead of
Yes.
in the back end for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And I think if you're not a first time home buyer, recognize also that things have changed. Things have definitely changed in the industry. And so you may hear some verbiage that you didn't hear before. Or, the agent that told you before that their service is free to you. That's that's really not the case. They were getting paid. They just, it was just in a way that you didn't have to visibly see it. So, we all get paid in some way or another. I'd love to be able to say that this is like a free service that, we do out of the generosity of our hearts, but it's not. We do a lot of hard work for to get our compensation. And we have to, as a group, understand and allow for the fact that others may not see it because it is a lot in the background, but we need to explain that to them. We have the responsibility to explain to them what we're doing for them to earn what we get.
Yeah, I like your communication style because it's your job, like you said, to be knowledgeable, to inform your clients. to be someone that they can lean on as a trusted advisor instead of someone that's just trying to do a deal and not really helping them in the process.
Right. And if you don't know what a fiduciary responsibility is, I definitely recommend looking that up because we are fiduciary responsible people. We are when you sign a contract with us to be a buyer or a seller, we have a fiduciary responsibility to you to make sure that your money is well spent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So it's important for us to recognize that, but it's also important for you to recognize that because you're basically trusting us and to be good stewards of your time, money, and effort.
for sure. Okay, so we're going to switch a little bit now and kind of dive into the technology side of things in real estate. I know technology is becoming a much bigger part of the industry right now. And you also mentioned earlier you are very organized, detail oriented, making sure you're on top of it. Are there any tools, systems, or platforms that you rely on daily to stay organized or manage your business?
Absolutely. Now, I know you're into AI. I am super into AI. I love ChatGPT right now. I'm looking at other platforms as well. And I think it is the most amazing thing that I can create a prompt, put it into an AI format, and come out with information that I can study without having to search a billion websites, without having to uh, you know, go to 3 different platforms and correlate it and put it into an Excel spreadsheet, all that stuff. I've actually set up my AI to send me a morning report where it tells me what is the news for the day as far as real estate is concerned, what homes have come on and off the market, if there's anybody in my database that I should be calling that day, to follow up with them and keep good stewardship of their relationship with me. Those kind of things save me tons of time and allow me to be a better real estate agent.
I love hearing that, and I love, that you just completely adopted technology into your day. It sounds like it's completely changed your schedule, how you look at things, also keeps you up to date better, more efficient, streamlining your processes, which is great. It seems like right now AI is such a big topic and people are either scared of it, unsure of it. Were you ever skeptical about it, or did you just kinda jump in right away and the learning process hasn't been too bad?
In terms of personal stuff, I understand why people would be a little skeptical. You don't necessarily want Big Brother, whatever you want to, however you want to define it, looking over your shoulder at your medical information and all that kind of stuff. I get that. However, when it comes to being work productive, there's certain things that it just can't be. The real estate arena is a relationship arena. You're there to build relationships and keep relationships and help people out. So people will never be eliminated. Real estate agents will never be eliminated because of that. However, if you don't adapt to systems like AI, then you're going to be beat out in terms of your communication, your ability to function in the real estate industry eventually. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but certainly in the near future, you're going to find yourself falling out naturally because you're going to get out competed.
Right. So I'm hearing it like you think as well that it's just such a big advantage to people that are adopting it than those who aren't.
Absolutely.
Well, that's exciting. And I like how you mentioned, you're not really losing the relationship side of your business with it. It's more to help you with the things that are manual, causing those bottlenecks in your business and really allow you to actually focus on those relationships.
Absolutely.
Is there something specific within your business that you also use it for that saves you the most time?
So I actually use it to do emails for me. I use it to create little texts. I use it to look up information that I may want to use in a weekly letter to my clients, things like that. Drafting those kind of things that I would probably spend about an hour to agonizing over like a paragraph. thinking, is that right? Am I
Yeah.
saying it the right way?
Yes.
ChatGPT will just it takes my voice and creates the document, and I'm just like, "Yep, there it is. That's it." I don't have no notes, no notes.
Yes. Big
So,
big time saver for sure.
yeah, so for those kind of things, yeah, I love chat as well.
Awesome. Okay, so looking back into your real estate journey, what are you most proud of, or is there a specific win that stands out to you?
Wow, that's a great question. You know what? I consider every closed transaction a win. I don't forget the people who I've done transactions with. Recently, I will say, I guess the biggest win that I've had is I actually sold, I helped sell a listing in the area, and this home is an adorable home. It has like a turret, like a castle. It's just so adorable, and it sits up on a hill. So the seller that who I was representing as is the listing agent, she was, kind of like mixed emotions. She didn't really want to let go of the property, but in a way, because it was her heart property in some respects. So it made her a little glum to think of it going to somebody who was just going to tear it down, do something that's going to take away the character or anything of that of the property. We put it on the market within 7 days. No, actually within 4 days, we had the offer. Within, like, 14 more days, we were closing, and the family that we actually got in there, they were an amazing young couple with some dogs and everything, and they are living in the home, and they adored it as is, which made my seller extremely happy too. And I actually got to create a relationship with the buyers as well throughout the transaction. And I found out that they got married at the house about a week ago. And this is like, they moved into the house, I want to say about 4 months ago. And they got married at the house. And when she told me that they had gotten married at the house, I was just like, that does my heart good. Oh, how awesome. They're like, "We love our little castle." And I'm just like, "Thank you. Good."
That is awesome, and, like, what a great story, and really to see the person that was selling the home know that it went to someone that actually loves it, enjoys it just as it is, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
What's been
Yeah.
the biggest lesson that you've learned going through the wins and losses in the industry?
Patience, and always keep inside your brain that things will work out. Always keep the thought that no matter what, things will work out one way or another. Maybe not the way you thought they were going to, but there's a way and it will happen.
Awesome. What are you most focused on now in your business?
Growth. Growth, particularly in the luxury sector because of the way that there's a lot of movement there.
Yes.
And I think that is going to be the trajectory for a little bit now, but also flexibility. So if you see something happening in the market moves quickly. If you don't move with it, you're going to get left behind. Don't think that there's one way that real estate will go and that it will always go. It'll always be a buyer's market, always be a seller's market, always be, first time home buyers who are, you know, the best source of deals in the market. Things change, the market changes, economics change, and you have to change with them.
Yeah, I like that how you say, being flexible and patient because it sounds with the ups and downs of real estate, you really have to be, or else you'll drive yourself crazy.
100%. 100%.
So, is there anything that you can see going on in the next 5 or 10 years that really excites you about the future of real estate?
One of the things that excites me about the San Diego area in particular is there has been a push towards affordable housing. There has been a push towards infill. And in that, basically, if you're not familiar, infill meaning that Instead of giving larger lots, we're breaking up current lots, adding ADUs. Recently, there has been a push to allow people to sell ADUs separately as as a condo, essentially. So these things are going to make it somewhat easier. It's not going to be a panacea. It's not going to be a complete fix, but for people who are coming into the market as first time home buyers to do that. And I just realized I used a bit of jargon there. ADU, if you're not familiar, is accessory dwelling unit. So
Okay.
it's like that little house in the back that you keep for your mother-in-law. That that sort of thing. So if you have an ADU on your property, you can now, under certain circumstances, sell that separately. And
Okay.
yeah, so that's an amazing thing that they're starting to do in California, particularly because we have such a housing crisis, affordable housing crisis. And I think that's gonna help, but we're also looking at doing, townhomes more in the style that you might see in Philadelphia or New York, where they're kind of row homes. When a property goes down, building those row homes in place to add more smaller lots, less yardage, but I think for first-time home buyers, that's gonna be an advantage.
Yeah, that'll be really nice giving people options. Otherwise, where it's so competitive and so high priced, it's really hard to get in there.
Absolutely.
Well, just to wrap things up, for someone looking to start a career in real estate today, what's one piece of advice you would give them?
I should have become a real estate agent 20 years ago. If you have the urge to get your license and you wanna see what you can do in real estate, just do it. Just do it. Put yourself out there. You will have to do a bit of study. You'll have to outlay a little money, but it's not anything compared to going back to get another degree or sitting where you're at. The time will pass anyway. If, you're like, what am I, how am I going to do this? It's going to take me a year or two to do this, or it's going to take me 5 years to really get established. The 5 years is going to pass anyway. It's just whether or not you're going to allow yourself to do something that makes you feel good and moves you in the direction that you want to go or not.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's great advice. I love it. And Renee, I really enjoyed this conversation and getting to hear your journey. I'll leave all of Renee's information so you can find her and reach out to her. So I'll have that on the screen and then also in the comments as well. Thank you, Renee, so much for sharing your journey and insights with us. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to the Dill Flow. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you on our next episode.